Are you ready for some tea? Some wedding tea? Well, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's Desiree here, and I'm so happy to see you. Oh, did you like Who's Her Daddy? Let me sit this down because the next story for you is really a hot mess. This story is called Fight for Your Life. Fight for Your Life. And trust me when I tell you, this one is going to be a good one. Before I get started with this story, let me just say once again, I have been a wedding and event planner for 24 years now. So yes, I have seen a lot, I have been through a lot, and that's what this channel is all about. It's kind of like I'm purging, sharing some of those infamous stories with you. So if you are wondering if they're true, what do you think? So this is one of our couples that was paying for much of the wedding themselves. They were getting some financial support from their family, parents in particular, but much of the wedding was being financed by this couple. But let's move forward. We get to the walkthrough for the wedding. And if you're not familiar with that term, a walkthrough is that final meeting where all of the vendors come together over at the reception location and we walk through the day. We walk through the timeline, vendors can ask questions, we finalize those details, we review the floor plan, all of the things that really bring the wedding home on that day. We discuss those particulars at the final walkthrough. So the meeting is taking place and things pretty much seem to be normal as they have been through the planning process. The bride is excited, but she is making some adjustments to the final invoice, the final banquet event order for that day. She made some edits to the chairs. Instead of renting chairs, she decided that she wanted chair covers. But she did upgrade the bar and she added some late night snacks, things like that, but nothing for me to be alarmed about. We move on. Weeks leading up to the wedding, the timeline is finalized, making those last calls to the vendors. Everything seems good. Nothing is throwing me off until, of course, the week before the wedding. So the final invoice has been created and I talk with the bride. The bride is very happy, but the mom is wanting to understand why things cost this much or can this be changed, because she told her daughter flat out, hey, I cannot pay this final balance. I can pay some of it, but you're going to have to make some edits. You're going to have to make some changes to bring this down to where I can financially support you in this wedding. Okay. Mom openly expressed that to her daughter. Her daughter was all about, I want all this and I'm going to make it happen and you need to make it happen for me. Let's move on. And now we come to the wedding rehearsal. I'm the first to arrive to this church, which is pretty far away from my office. I had about an hour drive, okay? I arrived to the church. I'm seeking out the church facilitator. She greets me and she asks me, do you have my final payment? No, ma'am, but I will contact someone to get that for you. So I get on the phone with the groom who is en route. And I'm like, hey, there's a final payment due here. Just want to make sure you're coming with that. He says, oh, don't worry about it. Everything's going to work out fine. Why should I be worried, right? He arrives and I take him to the church facilitator and they have a discussion. I later find out that he did not come to the church with a payment, but there was going to be a payment made, that final payment made right before the wedding when he actually arrives. So we shouldn't have any issues. The bride comes in looking lovely as ever, and she's not concerned about anyone or anything that's going on. All she is concerned about are the smoke machines that are supposed to evoke smoke when she comes down the aisle. She didn't get permission for this, okay? So the church is concerned about their sprinkler systems, all of these crazy things, and I had no idea that she was going to literally go buy smoke machines to have her grand entrance down the aisle. I digress. The things brides come up with these days, let's move along. Rehearsal goes off pretty smoothly, but we were late. Half of the wedding party was tardy. The parents were tardy. It was a lot going on. But again, it was really far out and it was a Friday evening, but we got through it. The church was very nice to us, although they had not been paid. They were very nice to keep their doors open to allow us to have the rehearsal. After the rehearsal, the couple is heading along with their wedding party and some of their guests to a rehearsal dinner. They unload all of their wedding inventory on me. I put it in my truck, and so I head back to my office after the rehearsal to do one simple task, and that was to call the limo company to get the name of the driver for the next morning. When I contacted them, they informed me that there was still a balance. I'm like, okay. So I text the groom. I says, hey, there's a balance for the limo. He says, don't worry about it. Let them know that when they arrive to the hotel to give me a call and I'll bring the payment down. Simple. I contacted the limo company, let them know that. I think everything should work out fine on wedding day, right? But when I woke up on Saturday morning, ready to pull off this wonderful wedding for this couple, something really weighed heavy on me, and I had to listen to my intuition. Instead of going to the hotel first, I decided to head on over to the reception venue, and I'm glad I did. When I got there, I'm always greeted by someone in this story. I am greeted by the venue manager, and they informed me that the balance had not been paid. I'm like, what are you talking about? They were like, the balance has not been paid. No one has brought a check here. They said they received a call from the bride. They received a call from the mom, but no one had arrived with the check. So I'm like, well, I'm sure it's coming, right? I haven't been to the hotel yet, but I'll definitely get a better understanding of what's going on. I am sure that this check is coming because it's wedding day. I know there's not going to be any issues. But as I entered into the ballroom, I discovered there were going to be a lot of issues. The venue hadn't done any setup yet because they did not receive their final payment. And there was this one lonely, beautiful woman in the corner setting up the most perfect dessert display for her cousin. And I greeted her and I was like, hey, how are you? She says, fine. I want to let you know that the 3 people who are going to come and help me do this setup, plus put on the chair covers, aren't going to be able to make it. Can you help? I ain't even leaning in on that one. What do you think I said? Oh, I said, yeah. You know why? Because it was wedding day. So I contacted my assistant. I says, hey, can you come sooner and help this young lady with these chair covers? Because I already know there's going to be an issue if we don't have these chair covers on, because the bride had actually purchased them herself versus renting them from the facility. She found out that they would be a lot cheaper that way, but I did inform her someone's going to have to put them on. But of course, we got stuck with this task, right? Anywho, I leave and I arrive to the hotel and I see a shuttle in front. And I decided to go say hi to this person, let them know that I was Desiree, the wedding coordinator for the day. And this gentleman asked me, did I have his final payment? What do I look like? An ATM machine? Cha-ching. I'm like, sir, no, I don't have your final payment. Did you contact the groom? He says, yes, but he's not answering. I said, okay, I'm going to go ahead and head in and find out what's going on. So instead of going to the bride, I go to the groom's door and I'm like, knock, knock, knock. Hey, do you have that final payment for the shuttle? He goes into his room and he takes the best man with him. Next thing I know, they come out, they hand me some money. I go ahead and pay the driver. Everything's good, right? You would think so. I head to the bridal suite. The bride is oblivious to everything that is going on, and she's walking around feeling like the queen of the day, waiting for people to cater to her left and right. But I did notice that the mom and sister had an attitude that was a lot different than what I experienced at the wedding rehearsal. I'm not sure what happened, but again, family dynamics, and I try to stay out of those things. I began to move the ladies along saying, hey, I need you to start getting dressed, all of those things, because we have photographs and the couple had planned on seeing each other before the ceremony. Not a problem. Get them all together. I get them hurried on to the shuttle that was paid for, and they take off. I leave from there and I head on over to the church where I was greeted once again when I got into the church by the church facilitator, and she wanted to know, did I have her final payment? Come here. I am not an ATM machine. I don't know where the money is at. But I held my demeanor and I did not say it like that. I says, well, the groom is supposed to be paying you upon his arrival. She let me know that what she had discussed with him last night is that he would bring the payment to her that morning, and she arrived at the church at 11 o'clock for a ceremony that was not supposed to start till 3. They forgot to tell me that, or I would have asked about that, or even taken the payment when I was at the hotel. I try to calm her nerves down, and I says, hey, he'll be here, let's say within the hour. I'm sure you'll have that payment, okay? So the floral designer is setting up, the musicians are setting up. Everything seems to be going nicely over at the church, and the church facilitator is pretty calm, all right? Well, the shuttle arrives, the first one with the guys. The groom gets off. And I'm like, hey, let me talk to you for a minute before we go pin these boutonnieres. Facilitator needs her final payment. And he looks at me and had the audacity to ask, do I have any cash on me? I was like, I'm sorry. Do I have any what? He says, do I have any cash on me that I can pay her and he will pay me back? That'll be a no. I says, no, I don't have that. I'm sorry. I was not aware that I needed to pay this final bill on your behalf, or I would have invoiced you all in advance of that, et cetera, et cetera. He says, okay, well, he needs to leave and go to an ATM machine. I said, and you're going to leave the church now. The wedding's to start soon, and you're going to go to an ATM machine to get the money. He says, oh, well, you know what? Maybe you or your assistant can go. No, we are not taking your ATM card, going to the ATM machine where there's cameras, not looking like the male you are, and we get arrested. That'll be a no. I said, why don't you ask the best man or ask one of your groomsmen to go, just so we can make sure we start this ceremony on time. They may make it back in time, they may not, but you are very important. I need you to stay here. He says, oh, no, I can do it. Him and the best man run out the door and they leave. Stay tuned. There's more to come on the wedding tea.